Economic impact of World War II. The war was fought between the Allies and the Axis powers. But the impact of the war was not just on the two parties. It was global. Let us witness the economic impact of the World War II. The biggest cause was World War II itself and its aftereffect. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh terms on Germany. The German government printed money to meet its high reparation payments and created hyperinflation. As Germans lost buying power, they looked for a solution. Adolf Hitler was a veteran. A second major cause was the Great Depression. It reduced global trade by 25%. In Germany, unemployment reached 30%. Communism looked attractive. To block this threat from the East, the German government supported the Nazis. But Hitler betrayed them and assumed total power as dictator. During wartime, American output steadily grew, as the physical damage done to the country was limited to Hawaii and some overseas military bases. This allowed Americans to buckle down and work on bolstering industry rather than having to focus on rebuilding what was lost. Conversely, many countries in Europe suffered extensive damage to buildings and infrastructure. The end of the war also marked the beginning of a period of expansive growth for Europe and other nations. For the second half of the 20th century, the United States, Europe, and Japan experienced amazing gains. In fact, the European GDP tripled between the end of the war and the year 2000. America used its footing post-war to become a global superpower. U.S. war spending helped add $236 billion to the debt. It was a 1,048% rise, the largest percentage upsurge to the debt of a president. A review of U.S. gross domestic product growth by year reveals that the economy grew at least 8% annually between 1939 and 1944. Between 1941 and 1943, it grew more than 17% a year. To pay for it, the government expanded the income tax and introduced mandatory withholdings from paychecks. In 1939, 4 million Americans paid federal taxes. That rose to 43 million by 1945. In 1947, the Truman Doctrine pledged the United States to assist any democracy attacked by authoritarian forces. It shifted U.S. foreign policy from isolationist to the global policeman. The Marshall Plan pledged $12 billion in food, machinery, and foreign direct investment to rebuild Europe. The National Security Act consolidated the Army and Navy into the Defense Department. It created the Air Force, the National Security Council, and the CIA. In 1949, the Fair Deal called for national health insurance raising the minimum wage. It also proposed the Fair Employment Practices Act to make illegal any religious and racial discrimination in hiring. Congress rejected national health insurance but passed the rest of the Fair Deal. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952 continued quotas for immigrants based upon country of origin. It had lower quotas for Asians, a vestige of the racism prevalent during the war. Between 1942 and 1945, the federal government relocated 117,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry into internment camps. The act prioritized family reunification and desired skills. These were the measurable impacts we could gather together over the years, but no one really cares or talks about the psychological and the other impacts this war had on the people during that time. One thing people have learned from this is to make peace and not war to survive in this world. If you liked our video, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to get great content regularly.